Here are little purse hangers I got the kits for in Craft Supply USA, I believe it was. I've found the little disc was actually surprisingly difficult to turn. It took a lot of time to get it to line up, not only line up right, but be the right size and still not show around the edges. So those are a lot more difficult than I thought they were. And my wife thought it was a good idea to have the little jewel in one of them, and that was I found incredibly difficult to turn out the little recess that it requires, because that jewel sticks down in there as much as it sticks up out of it, and it was difficult to get that fitted right. And then this one here is a walnut bowl that I've done so far. This is the largest bowl I've done to date, and you see I got the outside turned out pretty good. The inside I could have worked a little harder on to get it sanded right, but I was happy with the way it came out. That's been part turned. I've been sitting on the shelf for 3 years, so I just finished it up for a Christmas present this year.
Walnut natural edge bowl. All this stuff has been sitting around for probably a year or two. Rough turned. Just finally finished it up. This was a pretty nice piece of hickory. I kind of like this. I like this kind of stuff better than just a bowl that doesn't have the, I don't know what you want to call it, all the interest in that, if you will. I don't turn much for just utility, I guess. She wanted I just made a little prototype, something to put a wine bottle in on the table so it doesn't put a ring on the table. So she wants a bunch of them now, I guess. So I got one, and then I got to get approval, and then I'll find out. And this thing I finally finished up. It's been sitting around for 5 or 6 months drying, and got it done sanding and put back. I'll put some finish on it. All this stuff is just spray lacquer. I brushed a couple coats on the big stuff because it'd take a couple cans to shoot that thing otherwise, and then the last few coats spray it on.
Do you do anything
on your natural edge? Do you do anything to put a wood hardener or anything on the bark to keep it from coming off?
Nope, if it comes off, I just
turn it right off the tree.
Yeah. From what I'm told, and I don't know if this is true, that if you cut the wood in the winter, the bark typically stays on, and I'm not sure it's all woods, but if it's cut during the summer, it probably is not going to stay on. And you can still make a natural edge bowl, you just won't have the bark, it'll be the natural shape.
I've got one on the lathe now that I started it yesterday. But today, a section of the bark about 6 inches long just came right off. And I put wood hardener on it and glued it with super glue.
I don't know, I've never tried it, so I'm the wrong one to ask, I guess. If the bark comes off, I just take the rest of it off and finish
well,
it.
that's what I'll probably end up doing.
Because I don't know if you can glue that on and make it stay.
That I got. I really enjoyed working with hard maple. I think these are all utilitarian bowls, and I think that's one of the nicer materials that you can get. These things will last a long time if you took care of them. And they're fun the maple is fun to work. Cuts easy, as long as the tool's sharp. And I just got one little butternut bowl here. This one's not completely finished, but I really enjoyed working with the hard maple. Aesthetically, they're probably not as good as the cherry or some other wood that has more aesthetics, but it really is fun to cut.
Do a little woodworking on the side, those leaves?
Yeah, I went out and picked up some leaves out of the yard and put them on the copying machine, and then I took the paper and put some tracing paper down and then burned it. So,
What'd you put over it, solid bowl finish?
Yeah.
Or?
All right, Rich? Every time I do something, I have more questions than answers on it. Right? But I made some ice cream scoops, and they've been getting better, so I'm pleased with that. The rest of these things, I just had questions on, and I thought I'll throw the questions out there, and then maybe later on, if people have the answers, they could come and let me know what to do. This is my second pepper grinder, and I think it's a lot better than the one I had last month. This is my third one. This was cherry, and this is walnut and maple. I always have a problem boring the hole straight through. I always end up with a crooked hole. So if somebody could tell me what I'm doing wrong later on and
You do
tell
a
me.
pilot hole?
Pardon me?
You do a pilot hole before you bring your Forstner in?
I do not.
Do you
What
use
size?
do you use your tailstock or you're free-handed in?
I'm using a tailstock, but I don't have a real Morris taper. I've got a homemade Morris taper that I'm using on the tailstock with the drill chuck to hold the bit. Is that making it crooked? If I had a real Morris
Well, if
taper?
your tailstock is not lined up with your headstock, it's gonna go off sideways. Okay, I don't know how, is your points lined up good?
When I start, they're lined up.
Okay.
But the Morris taper I made is just out of hard maple, and I know I can see a little movement in it as I'm doing it.
Yeah,
So if I got a real Morris taper,
Wow.
that would,
probably help.
I'll try
And then
that.
do a pilot hole to get the drill bit started, and then take it straight in.
I'll try that, thank you.
What do you mean you don't have a Morris taper? Where you don't have a Morris taper in the tailstock, or
I'm using a shop smith, and so it takes a Morris taper, and I had to make one.
But it's just a round hole that he puts it into. It doesn't,
The shopsmith has got like it doesn't have a true tailstock.
right,
It has more like a piece of metal, straight piece of metal, like this, that you stick your live center into. So it does have a little bit of a motion this way.
Right,
Yeah.
it does.
And he doesn't have a true Jacobs chuck. He's manufactured a Jacobs chuck. And the Morris taper that he has for his Jacobs chuck is a little less than
Wobbly,
ideal.
A little wobbly, right. So I think I'll invest in a true Morris taper and see if that doesn't take the wobble out of it.
I think also, since you're using a shopsmith, you might want to set it up as a drill press. Because I know from experience, the horizontal boring machine doesn't do it justice.
I see.
So you might want to configure it for a drill press to bore your holes. That would probably help, number one. That way you don't have to worry about the Morris taper or anything.
And if I, Bruce, if I use a,
Mel suggested, start with your Forstner, and then maybe you're half an inch in, and then now you've got the exact center, and now drill that exact center
With-
a pilot for the rest
what
of
size pilot would you use?
3 quarter.
yeah, just something
yeah,
undersized?
just something small.
Maybe
Something small,
Yeah.
just a
be
quarter
smaller
inch.
than the point on the Forstner.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Okay, I'll try that, maybe that. On this one, I have a question about, I'm using polyurethane finish after I use your mix to start with, your 1/3, 1/3.
yeah.
And then I do a finish with the polyurethane. I've had some where they've come out, I really like the way it comes out, and other times I've had it where it starts gumming up. I must be doing something wrong. Am I-
And too much. You're talking about that three-part finish?
No, that works good, but then I come along and I put a polyurethane finish on over that.
Is that a wipe on or a brush on?
I wipe it on.
Might not be compatible.
But why on some, it works great, and others, it seemed to get a little gummy. Yeah, I thought maybe I'm not
Is your
turning
primer
fast
finish
enough.
good and hard first?
Pardon me?
Is your 333 primer finish, is that hard?
I've been living
first?
that cure overnight, so.
the other thing is that if you've got a close to tight fit, what's gonna happen is, yes, you can spray it and it looks nice, but then the friction is going to mess with the finish up. So what's happening is it's not that the finish is gummy per se, but the friction is messing up, melting the plastic finish.
I see, okay.
So you might want to think about, the clearance.
Okay, I'll try that. The second thing is like this one, can I just sand this out
Sure.
and refinish it then?
Sure.
That works, okay.
Absolutely.
And then the last thing I had, this maple tree I cut down a couple of years ago. And so I made a little carver's mallet. I was happy with the way it came out, but I had a question on that, and I think Dick answered my question on this. I get rings going through here that I've sanded like crazy and can't get them out. And
Are they tool marks or rings in the wood?
I don't, what do you think? The tool marks?
Yeah,
Tool marks?
or sanding scratches.
Yeah. Then
So-
what you do, start with like a 36 grit, and then don't skip a grit and then you can sand it out.
Okay, I've been starting with like a 150, so I should start
No.
small.
Problem.
Yeah,
Okay.
you gotta go down.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, you can start with an 80 or 100,
Yeah,
or if it's real bad, yeah, well, I know, I
Yeah.
said 36, but, start with a lot heavier grit sandpaper until all you see is just the grit from the scratches from the sandpaper. And then each grit, what you do is take those scratches off and add smaller ones. You can't skip a grit, stay with it.
Okay, yeah, I haven't been skipping any grits, but
Yeah, you gotta
I've
start
been
with-
starting at 150.
Yeah, you
so-
gotta start,
Okay.
The other thing you can use, if you got the discs that go on the drill, and you got it moving like this, if you come against it with that cuts across it like that, and it'll take them
All right, that's great. Great suggestions, thanks.
finish.
Some Christmas ornaments, and I turned these, the acorns are, the bottom is turned, but the top is real acorn caps, and they're glued on there, so that I don't turn those tops, but just Christmas ornaments.
cool. Pete?
I can move on to bottle stoppers. Same thing with the cherry. This was the last of that particular branch, so my next step is to start whacking at another branch and breaking it down into pieces so I can finish up. But I've gotten to the point where about an hour and a half, I can turn one out, no pun intended.
Phil? Oh, yeah, we'll hammer you, don't worry about it.
And I just started in May with any kind of woodworking, and I do mostly spoons I learned with, and in particular, I like doing coffee scoops out of hand carving with just my knife. Then I learned out, this turning stuff, and the things that I've been doing are the bowls, and Mike helped me make this one at his shop under close supervision, so I thank you for that one. Really awesome. And then
That's surprising.
yeah, was it? No tool marks or anything. But I did all these on my own, and I turned this type of thing here with a natural edge. I like that too. And was thinking of like a tea light holder. I made a couple of those. But I aspire to that right there.
Isn't
All
that
those
something?
bowls, that vase, all that stuff. So that's why I'm here.
Well, let me tell you something, they started just like that.
Yeah.
We all did.
Did we?
So
Okay.
don't be afraid of bringing, and a lot of times we bring our mistakes in, say,
Yeah.
look, don't do this, and, just like there, you had questions on problems, we got a wealth of information here, we can help you out.
All right.
Do you do any of your spoons on your lathe yet?
No, I seen that you can turn them, but
Oh, yeah.
no, I haven't.
You can turn that big bag.
Yeah, I haven't decided to do any of those, no.
Okay. Well, thank you.